Good evening, welcome back. It's still Tuesday, July 7th, 6:58 p.m. Today we're going to look at a case of reinfection. Since we're seeing so many of these stories coming up of people that can shake the virus after a couple of months or get better, get sick, and then die from the second infection, and so on and so on. This is a case in Los Angeles. It received no real attention, but I managed to dig up this article from the local papers. Los Angeles. Koreatown man reinfected with SARS-2 after attending several protests. He says he first tested positive for SARS-2 in March before the lockdowns began. All of a sudden, I had mild headaches, and then it started getting really serious. I had fevers from like 103 to 104, sometimes for 2 weeks straight, Lee said. Lee said the infection and symptoms lasted about a month, and he provided his test results from April 22nd, showing he still tested positive for SARS-2. Lee eventually recovered and went back to work. He said he tested several times after his first infection, but then tested positive again on June 19th after he attended several Black Lives Matter protests. Lee said he wore PPE at the protest, but remembers feeling worried about the large crowds and proximity of people to each other. Everyone was so close to each other. Everyone was stuck on each other, Lee said. I think about more than a quarter weren't wearing masks. There were probably like 5,000 people at the protest, probably. All I remember is at some points we couldn't even turn around or anything. He tested positive again for SARS-2 on June 19th. He said this recent infection is much worse than the first one, calling the first one Corona Light and the recent one Corona Extra. Corona Light, it was like light symptoms, headaches and pain, just getting sore. To be honest, it wasn't that bad, he said. Whereas Corona Extra, it's like you have three different sicknesses and that combine into one. Like you have a bad flu, you have the stomach flu, you also have light cramps. To be honest, it feels like death. You don't have the energy to do anything. Imagine you have a fever, you have diarrhea, and then all of a sudden your testicles feel like they're getting hit constantly. It was like that for a week. Now we know that this virus can make it into the male reproductive system, so it's very alarming that he brings that up at the end. And again, no one knows why this is happening. There's just only theories at this point, just theories.